Hello, it's the Degenerate Square. Checking in after what was a down week one. I went 1-2. Really no excuses. The Bo Nix Oregon thing, I messed up bad, and got to get back on track. I wanted to check in and talk about a couple of the games. I want to start with the Notre Dame Ohio State game. How disappointed I was in Notre Dame for what I saw was just conceding the game in the second half. I mean, I don't know if Freeman thought he was going to win 10-7. If so, that's borderline delusional. I mean, you had played really well throughout the first, 60% of the game. The offense was very conservative, yes, but the defense was doing. I mean, we all saw what the defense was doing. But then to only throw 16 passes and just to not take a lot of shots down the field, it almost seemed like they were just good with 10 points and they were just going to roll the dice, hoping their defense could basically continue to throw a near perfect game, which is just not realistic. So, I mean, everybody's high on Freeman. Everybody thinks he's going to do great things for Notre Dame. Maybe he will, I don't know. But just the strategy in the first regular season game, I thought was lacking. I thought the Notre Dame guys obviously played really hard, but seemed like the offense especially just wasn't given all the opportunity to really score. So that was really disappointing. I mean, it was disappointing for Ohio State too. Not for me not to get the cover, because I was just not impressed. I mean, to be honest, it's a long season. I don't want to overreact after one game, but and the schedule does get pretty favorable for much of the Big Ten slate, but I mean, I didn't see the explosion that certainly I and others had predicted. Stroud got off to quite frankly, a rough start. He did not look good. Still think he'll put up huge numbers, 50+ touchdowns, yada, 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 but, and if he does so, people will kind of, forget to some degree about this slow performance in week one. But I think what I was most struck by was just, Notre Dame's lack of aggression on offense, and they really had a chance at times to really, put more points on the board with more aggressive play calling and really give themselves a chance to win a game nobody thought they could win. But you just can't win like that in 2022, being that conservative an offense. And if you don't trust your quarterback, well, that's another problem, But anyway, on to the game I really want to talk about, Utah-Florida, and what this loss does for Utah. This was a really, really bad loss for Utah. First, let me give congrats to Anthony Richardson. I thought he was amazing, and I think he's going to have an amazing year. Now, the rest of the Florida team does not look very special. They definitely appear to lack playmakers on the outside. I mean, let's be real. Anthony Richardson pretty much was that whole team on Saturday. That 45-yard touchdown he had was just, it looked like he took 5 or 6 steps to cover 45 yards as he jogged down into the end zone. I mean, that was Vince Young-like. I think Richardson is going to be the most dynamic playmaker going forward this year in all of college football. I don't think he'll win the Heisman just because I don't think he has enough around him. But getting back to Utah, I mean, this was just a really, really bad loss. And they're going to go into the Pac-12 slate soon, and maybe they'll win a lot of games. It certainly didn't look like a team that's special enough to say they're definitely going to run the table, okay? I mean, is that a possibility? Sure, it's a possibility, because it's not like you have a lot of really special opponents you're going to play where you're obviously going to trip up. I mean, everybody's going to circle the USC game, but, looking at what Oregon did on Saturday, my gosh, so it comes to a point where if you're Oregon, even if you run the table, which I think there's probably a 20-25% chance they can do, even if you run the table, you're going to need some help. Now, will that help likely come? Yes, because everyone always minimizes the likelihood of all these other teams having multiple losses. So right now, everybody's saying, for example, Georgia and Alabama are going to both go because they're going to meet undefeated and, in the SEC title game, and the one loss, the loser's then going to get a spot 2 in the playoff. There's too many assumptions there. We don't know that Georgia and Alabama are both going to go 12-0. And in fact, I think that's a much less than 50% chance happening, just because it's really, really hard to go combine 24-0 playing in the SEC. That said, I'm going off target. My point is that Utah, if they go 11-1 or 12-1 after the Pac-12 title game, probably will get in. It's not guaranteed, but they have a really good chance. But I'm just not going to get this Florida loss out of my head, because that was a nothing special Florida team minus Anthony Richardson. Now, I do think Florida will get Kentucky this week. I think that's going to be one of my big plays that I'll post in a couple days. But this Utah loss just kind of sticks with me as a very unfavorable, negative feel, and they just didn't look special in any way. The quarterback looked mediocre. He didn't make a lot of huge plays. He missed some really open throws down the field that they really needed. So I was hadn't seen a lot of Cam Rising before this game. I'd heard good things, but after watching game 1, I was definitely not impressed. And the running back, he cost him a touchdown. When he took that handoff on 4th and goal at the 1, you thought for sure he's going to get in. The way that play was set up, you got to get that in the end zone. And I don't know if he tripped himself or if he tripped on the quarterback's legs, but it was a big error by the Utah running back. And it went a long way towards costing them the game. So I guess the takeaway from week 1 is pretty much what everybody's saying, that just a horrible day for the Pac-12, horrible day for Utah, and such a big loss to what's going to be a likely 4-4, maybe 5-3 SEC team. And then just kind of down on Freeman and the Notre Dame offensive staff for not being more aggressive and giving their guys a better chance to win, because the defense certainly played hard. All right, that's it for today. I'll release some picks in a day or two for the next week. Got to get back on track, or this electric bill might not be paid. All right, it's the Degenerate Square logging out. Remember, stay degenerate.